Alright, working on the LS swapped Mustang again. Right now I'm working on getting the fuse panel, the Chevy fuse panel, and the Chevy ECM situated. They're going to be going where the battery was in the Mustang. So here's the factory battery tray in the Mustang. The battery is going to be moving to the trunk just because I don't have enough room to put everything up here. So basically what I'm doing right now is I got the factory holder for this guy and the factory fuse panel holder, which this is in. And basically I'm going to be trimming down all this extra stuff that doesn't need to be on here, that was from the truck. Trim it down to just the part that holds the fuse block and get the fuse block mounted. Once I get the fuse block mounted, I'm going to modify this guy somehow, I don't know yet, to mount the ECM over there next to the fuse block. So they'll both be over there, out of the way, sort of away from the heat, and then we'll run cables to the back for the trunk for the battery. So I'm going to get going on that. Alright, so this is my modified fuse block holder. It's going to sit right here. I'm going to put 3 screws down through plastic to plastic. Just went into plastic, hold it down there. Fuse panel goes in, fuse panel is mounted. Next, we got to get the computer mounted over here. Alright, so I'm going to hold off on that computer over there, and I'm going to start working on the Ford stuff because it's just a mess over here and it's making it hard to work. So pretty much the stock Ford computer and fuse panel sat where that exhaust is, which is no good anymore. So this is just, you know, sitting here on the fender. So we got to get this mounted probably somewhere right here to the fender, and we got to mount this Ford computer somewhere here. Hopefully we can find a spot that it fits, or we might have to make a bracket or something, but we'll see. I'm gonna get going on that next. All right, so I got the factory Ford computer mount and fuse panel mount in. What I did was, if we pull this out, pull these plugs out, so what I did is I took the bracket off the bottom of the fuse panel. I stuck this bolt in right through the fender. There was a nut in the fender right there. This one on the front is drilled through the fender. Bolt comes through with a nut on top. That's how this was mounted. And this is the factory computer bracket. I bent this tab, bolted it through to the fuse panel. I bent this tab, bolted it through the fender, like the front one. And then on the front side, I made this aluminum flat bar that goes down to the factory mount for this computer. So there's a bolt through the flat bar there, and there's a bolt there. And it is very strong, so it is not going anywhere. Fuse panel doesn't hardly move at all. It's probably stronger than the factory mount was. So we're gonna get fuse panel back in, computer back in, and then start working on figuring out some wiring, laying stuff out better. All right, so I went and pulled the Ford gas pedal out of the car. This is what it looks like. It was on this little plate right here, bolted to the firewall with 2 bolts holding it on. So I took this little plate off. What I'm gonna have to do, because the Chevy pedal came out of a car that had adjustable pedals, it's got this weird linear drive actuator thing on here for moving the pedal forward and back. We don't want any of that, so I think I'm going to do is just cut this off right here, cut this thing off, and then we'll cut this pedal off, and we'll get this attached to the Ford plate here, and we will put it in the car and get this guy in the car, the Chevy pedal, and weld it in the position that is correct to this bar. So it'll be just welded straight, no adjustment, no nothing, just it is where it is. All right, so I got it mounted up to the Ford mount. I had to cut off, there were a bunch of little plastic tabs off the Ford mount. These are the 2 bolts that went through the Ford one. That one goes all the way through. This one I had to find a bolt with a really small head and kind of notch that, but that's holding on there. This one I drilled a hole for, just put a nut on the back. And now, if we go into the car, alright, so it's hard to see, but there it is right there. Clears the firewall. Got the 3 studs that go through, put nuts on. So the next thing I'm going to do is cut that other end with the Chevy gas pedal off, bring it up under here, and kind of hold it up, see where it's good, tack it on, put it on. If it's good, then we'll take it out and weld it up, and gas pedal will be done. Alright, so gas pedal is fully welded up. I put a nut in there to space it out, and then I just welded across everything. So that's plenty strong. It sits the way I want to in the car. I'll show it in a second after I get it bolted in, but before I get it bolted in, I have to get the throttle by wire. This guy ran through the firewall first, because I have to plug it in before I bolt this in, or else you can't get to the plug on top of this. So I'm going to get this run probably through that boot right there where the other wires go, and then get it plugged in the car and get it bolted up, and gas pedal is done. Alright, so gas pedal is fully installed. Turn the light on here so you can see. It's bolted to the firewall up there. So that's that. I don't have the wire plugged into it yet because the factory wire goes from the pedal to the Tack module, they call it, is not long enough. It's like 2 feet long, so I just ordered a 4-foot one. And that's also because this boot I thought went through definitely does not go through. The boot that does go through is behind the fender well right here. I got it all pulled out. So it's got to come down here, through the firewall, up and across, because the tack module is going to be somewhere over here in this area. So I ordered a 4-foot cable to go between the pedal and the tack module. Here's the tack module, that's what it looks like for the throttle by wire setup. But while we're waiting for that to come in, I'm going to start hooking stuff up over here to the fuse panel and getting all of this mess cleaned up, because I have everything I need except for now that tack module stuff. I bought coil wire extensions. So these just extend the coil plug wires because the coils are down there. That way I don't have to splice and do a whole bunch of stuff. They just go from this plug down to the coil plug. I think they're 2 feet long each, so that should be plenty for each side. So I can get this cleaned up and start working on a block to hook these battery terminals up to on the firewall, and then hook terminals to them to run to the back of the car because the battery's going in the back. So I'm starting to de-pin all the extra wires that we pulled out of the harness from before. So for example, we got this green one here. You follow it through to the pin that it goes through on the other side, so that would be this one. And to get these out, I lost my de-pinning tool, but you can just use a screwdriver. This blue thing on the side, you're just gonna pop that blue thing out. It's hard to do with one hand here, but you're just gonna pop this blue thing out like that. Take it all the way out. Don't lose it. And now, I wanna get this pin out. There's a little tab in there. I'm gonna stick the screwdriver behind and push it that way. You'll see the tab. So let me do that now. So you're going to pry this tab back and pull out on the pin, and there's that pin out. So it's that easy. Just gonna go through, pull all the ones out you don't need. I would recommend keeping these, because if you need to add stuff back into here, you can use these, stick them in, splice a wire onto the other end. But I don't need them right now. So that's how you de-pin them. I'm gonna go through all those, and then we'll do these ones. These ones are even easier on the computer, so we'll go to those next. So the way the PCM connectors work is a little different. You have this the gray cover that you're gonna remove off the back. It's got 6 clips on it, as you can see there. So you just wanna squeeze them in really hard and pull out. It should come out, then you're gonna have this. Now on the other side, you wanna remove these covers. So here's one. They have a clip, one on this side, one on this side, down by the bottom. Pop that off. There's your pins. The way you release the pins is you get a little screwdriver, you pull out on this tab, and you push the pin down through. So for example, we have this red wire here that needs to be removed, that we de-pinned or cut off. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna stick the screwdriver in, pull up on that tab right there. Make sure I have the right one. Yep. And pull out. And there's that pin out. Once again, I'd recommend you save these. You can reuse them, add stuff if you want to add electric fans or whatever it is. These PCMs support a lot of features for a stock PCM, so that's how you de-pin those. I'm going to go through, de-pin both of those, and then we'll get back at cleaning up this wiring. All the plugs are completely de-pinned, so now they just have what they need going to them. No cutoff wires on anything. Looks like a factory harness again. So we're gonna get it hooked up to the PCM, get it hooked up to the fuse block, get everything hooked up on the engine, 2 sensors, everything, get it all laid out, and then we'll start looming it up, making it look nice, getting it all situated. All right, well, I cleaned up a little bit of the wiring, started getting stuff moved around, plugged in. Both the coil extensions work good. So there's the one, goes down, comes up by the fuel line, plugs into the factory coil plug. Same thing on the other side. But that's it for today. All right, working on the LS swapped Mustang again. Trying to get a few things done here so we can get it moving, get it started up. Just went and picked up the brand new drive shaft, so here it is. So this end is the Ford 8.8. This is the Nissan yoke, just a straight steel drive shaft, one piece, nothing else in the middle, simple. But before we get that put in, I'm trying to get the thing where it can be, turn the key, start it, get the cooling system done, get everything dialed in. So I just went and mounted this flexible oil dipstick right here because the factory one hit everything, and we got that on. The next thing I need to do before it's running is get the Tack module hooked up. So that's what we were working on last time. So here is the Tack module. Here's the original wiring harness. It's super short. I bought this Tack module harness on Amazon. It's got the right end on one side. It's got a different on the other side. I think it's for a different pedal. But that's okay because we're going to cut one plug off. Keep this plug. Connect them both together, make it even longer so that it reaches, because it's got to run all the way down through the wheel well, come up, over, and all the way to the other side. So, alright, so I think I got the electrical cleaned up good enough for now. We got all this going. The factory Chevy harness has a bunch of grounds. It's got, I think, one on the front, one on the back of there, one on the back over here. And I've routed all of those down now through the harness, and they go down to that stud right there. You can see the little wires coming off the bottom. So all the grounds go to one spot on the block, and that's also where the ground for the battery goes to the block. So that should all be good. The main negative terminal that used to go to the Ford terminal that was on the battery here, I cut it off. That is now grounded directly to the frame of the car. So the frame is the ground, which is how it normally is anyways. And this is the positive, so this is going to get cut off. We're going to put some sort of block here that we can hook all the positive terminals to, and then one of those will be a big positive cable running to the back of the car, and then the negative on the back will just ground to the frame. And that should be that for the battery. So next step is to get this Tack module and all the pedal wiring figured out. Alright, so our drive-by wire is connected. The wire goes through this factory boot now. It's the one with the zip tie on it. Goes into the pedal, and then it comes up. Follows the factory forward wiring across, and over into our box. And that box plugs in right here, goes over to the computer. So that's done. This box is going to get mounted on the firewall somewhere over here. So now what I'm going to work on is getting just going to lay the Ford harness back on here, hook up our starter wire, hook up everything to make it run, find a accessory power wire in the Ford harness and hook it to our accessory power for the fuse block that powers everything on, so that way the Chevy stuff will power on with the key, it'll crank with the key, it should start, shut off with the key, and everything like that. So I'm going to get working on that. We'll see how far we get. It's getting dark out, but we'll start going on that.